welcome to another edition of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show with Jonathan Howe. That's me and my good pal Travis Cunningham joining me on. Are we at episode 9? Episode 9, I think, this week.
Episode 9. Yep.
You would think I'd keep track, but I keep losing track.
I just remember every week, yeah. Almost, that's 2 months in a week, I guess, that we've been doing this, and
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
yeah, it makes sense. It's just been so busy lately. We got lots of racing to cover between Merrittville and Ohsweken, and we got past guests going and representing down in NASCAR at Knoxville. We got super dirt stuff to look forward to, and we got dirt car mixing things up with some rules. So we'll get into that as well. Let's probably start. Let's start with Ohsweken. Talk to us about your night, Travis, on Friday night at Ohsweken.
Oh, we started out good, won the heat I think that was my first heat win since 2013 up there. But then feature did the same thing. Clipped the inside wall coming out of 4, but this time I didn't take anybody with me and the damage wasn't near as bad, but sucked to make another mistake, no doubt about that. But I guess at least we were still pretty fast. We were going backwards a little bit in the feature. The track was real slick, and I didn't quite tighten up enough. And yeah, but I was still hanging around the top 10. And then clipped the wall with a couple to go and effed myself. And yeah,
I was gonna say flat left front did you in, but not the worst. Not the worst performance of but everything I could tell and everything I heard. You had a lot of speed in the car, so I think positive things to come, and more positives to take away from the weekend. Definitely positive to take away if you are Cory Turner, who wrapped up another 360 sprint car win at Ohsweken.
Yep, Cory's fast there. I think that's his first win since 2019. He won one of the triple 20s at the Nationals. I'm thinking that was his last win. Cory's always fast at the Ohsweken, and he was quick opening night. I think didn't he finish second to his brother? Or no, they were second and third. D-Dubs won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So no surprise to see Cory in victory lane on Friday
And they
night.
were 1-2 at Merrittville, right?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, they were 1-2 at Merrittville. And Cory's been struggling a little bit on the shorter tracks, whereas Ryan's got them dialed in. So I'm sure he's glad to get himself in the win column too. Not struggling, but a little bit. I'm sure you agree with me.
Yeah, and Ryan turned another podium spot in that one, along with Mikey Kruchka, and we're gonna have both Mikey and Cory on the show a little later on, talking. Going to be a bit of a sprint car heavy show, especially heading into a big weekend at Merrittville with the Gary Cunningham Memorial for the Southern Ontario Sprints this weekend as well. I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing you at my home track at Merrittville.
Yeah, awesome that Merrittville does the memory race for my pops again. They couldn't do it the last couple of years because there was only a few races. So this year is a normal year again, kind of. So we're doing it again, and it's always a fun show. We always keep it pretty low key. People always ask, "Is there shirts? Is there stickers?" And like, nah, we just kind of keep. My dad was kind of a low key guy, so we just kind of have it in his name and don't do nothing too fancy. Sometimes we do a helmet pass for the hospice where he passed away and then raise money for them, but we haven't done that in a few years. I was thinking maybe we could do it again this Saturday. I might talk to Don. But yeah. And then other than that, there's I got 4 races in 8 days coming up. The 360s do around here, so we start this Friday at Ohsweken for a regular night. Then we go to the Gary Cunningham Memorial with the SOS Merrittville on Saturday, like you said, and then next Thursday, Knights of Thunder series kicks off at Humberstone. Humberstone's coming back next Thursday and Sunday. So yeah, Knights of Thunder kicks off on Thursday, and then Friday, the big one, the first Canadian Sprint Car Nationals of the year, which is 10,000 to win, 1,000 to start. So even just to qualify, that's almost like feature. That's like second place money, or pretty much third place money, I think, just for qualifying. So just making the show is a huge deal there, and then someone's going to go home with 10 grand. And ESS, and I think I'm not sure if Patriots do, but I know ESS for sure has a race scheduled against it, so not as many Americans are going to be able to come. So could be a local car going home with the 10 Gs. Pretty sure G-Dubs is coming though, so it could be him. Although if it slicks up, that kind of equalizes him a little bit. And yeah, could be anybody.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be somebody local. I think it's a local guy's time to shine, at least for the first one. Like you said, there's going to be three sprint car nationals because we got to make up for them through the year. So Ohsweken's going to be a busy place for sprint cars
Yep.
and for high paying sprint car racing. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know how you guys are going to pull off 4 in 8 days. I mean, you were saying last year you guys did that twice, right?
Yep. Uh, the sprint car, as long as you don't wreck, it's not that bad. Just a little motor maintenance. Washing tires. Most people don't even wash anymore. They just wipe off because the tracks aren't as heavy as they used to be. So you don't have to do a full blown power wash anymore. They just kind of get dusty. So you can just kind of WD-40 in a rag all over, just wipe it off, then it looks brand new again. And yeah, just change those. There's not really sprint cars are easy, right? You can just like the Outlaws, you can work out of a parking lot. That's the best part about them.
Nice. Speaking of sprint cars, at Ohsweken as well, we had Darren Dryden getting back into victory lane as well in the crate sprints. Good to see them returning and upsetting the apple cart a little bit. I mean, he has been probably the second best in the sprint car or in the crate sprints so far this year, at least around town. Besides Dykstra, so good to see Dryden keep winning.
Yeah, Dykstra's not running he runs the 360 at the Reds. So Dryden, I think he's won both. I think that's his only two starts. He's won them both, and he did a good job. I noticed he really likes his car
Hmm.
loose. Uh, he really does a good job of driving a loose car. I don't know how he does it, but he's got that thing super loose on roll in the middle and definitely ran good. Another shout out I want to give is AJ Lewis. That was his first race back since 2019, and he started about midfield. He's a fellow Panther chassis guy like me. We're the only two at Ohsweken with Panther chassis from Syracuse, New York. And yeah, he drove her up to third, running a little bit different line than everybody. And he did a good job to come off the couch and put in the podium first night.
Yeah, awesome to see. Good call on that one. Over in the Thunder Sox, good to see the 19 Kyle Wirt pouncing on a win, taking that 19 back to victory lane. I don't think I've seen Kyle race yet at Merrittville. He may have made one or two starts, but good to see him in victory lane at Ohsweken. That was a cool name to see at the top of the podium, at least for me, knowing that he's always been consistent but never really able to break through at Merrittville in what I've watched. So good to see some success for Kyle in the Thunderstocks.
Yep, always good to see a new winner. That's for sure. I'm not sure if he's won or not before. I don't think so. But I didn't catch any of the race. But Ohsweken's,
Yeah, I was gonna say that might be his
yeah, I think it might be.
first.
But like Ohsweken's really good at like producing new winners sometimes. Like they have people that win there that a lot of Merrittville kind of people wouldn't know. Like back in the day, like Wyatt Van Wart and stuff. Even AJ Lewis was a good street stock guy back in the day. A bunch of different guys can win at Ohsweken, and that's kind of the coolest part about the street stocks there.
And what do you think that the reason for that is? Do you think it's just that Maryville and everybody we've talked to always says that Maryville's so tricky? Do you think it's the difficulty of Maryville, or is it there's something unique about Oshweek that just is good for first time
That's a
winners?
tough question. Uh, so I honestly really don't know. Just maybe there's so many different lines to get used to at Ohsweken that maybe something that you like a little bit better. Whereas Merrittville can be a lot trickier. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
We're gonna have to get some Thunderstock guys on here sooner, Street Stock guys, and then maybe we'll talk to a Bailey.
True.
A little bit of controversy over at Maryville in the
We
Hoosier
definitely got to
stocks.
get Bailey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
What was the controversy there?
Well, I mean, let's get into it. Well, before I touch on that, we'll just touch on the fact that mini stocks Tyler LaFontaine uh, gets another win. Uh, Tyler LaFontaine, I think, has won pretty much
Yep.
every mini stock race he's been in so far this year. He has definitely got that 96T figured
Except for
out.
that Humberstone one.
Yeah,
Yep.
except for Humberstone, and I think one or two at Maryville, maybe, as I think Moulton's got one there,
Yeah.
and I feel like there was one. Oh, and
Yeah.
Clinton
I
Barrick.
interviewed him.
Clinton Barrick's got one over at Maryville too. But yeah, Tyler
Yep.
LaFont is definitely the dominant driver in the mini
Yeah.
stock
Other than
right now.
that, he's won them all.
Yeah, right. So
Yep.
uh,
No doubt about it.
he even was able to pick up a win on Saturday night at Maryville in the four cylinder, moving Austin Worcester. I don't want to say that it was a controversial night in general at Maryville, but there was definitely some interesting things to happen. I mean, let's start with the mini stocks. Like I say, great battle for most of the race between LaFontaine and Worstro, but I think eventually it was gonna. Ended up being a bit of contact that allowed Worstro to or LaFontaine to move past Worstro. Um, I haven't had a chance to go back and watch the replay, but I remember calling it live. I was like, "Wow, that's a pretty big shot to give him move him out of the way." And he mentioned as much in Victory Lane that it was a good shot that LaFontaine gave to Worstro to win that one. So even though LaFontaine's won so much already, he's definitely got the fire right now, the drive to keep the floor, keep it pedal to the floor, and keep the momentum going all year long.
Yep. No doubt about it. Yeah, I definitely gave a little shout to Worcester. He said so, like you said. But that's why sometimes top three interviews can be fun, because then you can interview the second place guy and see what he thinks about it right there, and not have to just wonder, like we kind of are right now, what he thought about it. But he definitely said sorry for it in victory lane, and yeah, picked up no one.
Sometimes apologies don't go too far in racing, so I'm sure Worstro's going to pocket that one for later on. In the modified lights, good battle between Bigelow and Winger. Tale of two different races. Winger got up from eighth position to the lead pretty quickly, and then Brent Bigelow, much more slow and methodical, and caught on kind of late and was able to get the pass done late. Also, give a shout out to Dylan Slater, had a great run starting second, brought it home third. Good to see that 7S in fine form throughout the night. And if Toddy and Slater rounded out the top five in that one. And then the controversy in the Hoosier stocks I was mentioning. Rob Murray was first to the stripe, but did not make weight. And it ended up
Right,
the feature
right.
went to Dave Bailey. And we didn't really know what was going on. At first, they thought maybe the problem was with the scale itself. That was the initial report when I was standing in Victory Lane, kind of wondering where Rob was. And then by the time I got back up to the tower, they're like, no, Rob just flat out didn't make weight. So tough break for the M1. Not sure if that was something they did on purpose or not. I'm never going to speculate. Racing's, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. If you're not running in the gray area, right? But a shame for Murray, because that would have been his second win and really would have got him back in the title fight, I think, or at least back in the consideration to rival Bailey through the summer.
Yeah, I think they pushed him over the scales twice. First time it was like 20 pounds light, and then the second time it was a little lower, but still over, like it was over 10 pounds. And that sucks, yeah. But like you say, it definitely wasn't on purpose. That could easily be just like 10 pounds is less than 5 gallons of fuel. Like 5 gallons of fuel is 40 to 50 pounds. So that's like a gallon of fuel that you miss, or a couple gallons. So it's easy to miss that if you get your fuel calculations off, and it's literally that easy to not make weight,
Yeah, tough break for.
especially if you're pushing the issue as it is. Like sprint cars don't have that trouble, but
Mhm.
modify, or like all the modifieds do. Like they have to pay attention to it and know how much they're going to burn. And I'm sure the street stocks are the same way.
Yep. Speaking of modifieds, we'll get to them in a second. That was a dandy race. Maybe it's funny. I was talking about last week, how the four cylinders had maybe the race of the year, but I don't know. The finish of that modified race at Merrittville was pretty good as well. But before we get there, the Sportsman JMF returns to victory lane. Friesen started 11th, gained all 11, 10 spots up to first. McPherson got up 10 spots, started 12th, finished second. Those two, I think, have pretty much established themselves as the clear favorites in the sportsman division at Merrittville this year. They are uh, definitely at the top. And it was funny, we were talking to Leslie and we were talking about the point standings. And as I look at the sportsman now, Leslie drops back to third after he had not the best of nights on Saturday night. I think by his standards, I think he probably would have wanted to run a little bit better. But Friesen's now 24 points back of Cody McPherson in that track championship battle. So again, those two are definitely, I'd say, the class of the field in the sportsman, and it's shaping up to be a good battle throughout the summer between the 7 and the 72.
Yeah, definitely 24 points is about 10 spots, I'd say, 12 spots. So definitely not over yet anyway, but that's still a decent lead for Cody as long as he can keep him in his sights for the rest of the year. But that's definitely one bad night, and yeah, James is leading the points. So and, Cody's got a couple more, or they both got 2 wins. I forget how many Cody's got. I think Cody's got three. James got two. James' first one wasn't for.
I think Cody's got three at this point. Let me double check that right now. Let's see. I know James
He
won.
won opening night, but that
I
wasn't for
think,
points.
yeah,
I don't
Cody's got
believe.
three at Merrittville so far. No,
So that there's that.
that was one of the
Yeah.
exhibition races at the start of the year. So that's his first technical points win of the year. He's got 8 top 10s in 8 races and 5 top 5s, but first time Friesen was able to actually break into victory lane in a points paying event. So again, that should help him close the gap up. You say it's 10 spots. Like,
Yep.
Cody gets buried in traffic one night, and Friesen's able to start up towards the front, or maybe get up to the front pretty early. It
Yep.
could really swing the championship. So not over yet, and long summer still to go. And then what I was saying, maybe the race of the night, Core Pack Merchandising 358 mods. They had an awesome event, and it's not that I'm pulling for Scott Wood, but I just feel like that car has been bad fast for a really long time, maybe like the last year and a half, that 38 car. And I just feel like I don't think he's been able to break through. I don't remember him. I could be wrong. Maybe I don't remember him winning last year, and he hasn't been able to get through yet this year. But Scott Wood started second, had the lead from the majority of that race, or at least the first half, and then um, hit lap traffic. Wood was out front, still looked pretty good, and all of a sudden Brad Rouse kept creeping into the picture. And then by the time Rouse got there, Susie got there, Chad Chevalier was in the mix, Matt Williamson ended up in the mix in that one as well. It was close racing. Like it was probably at one point I thought 4 or 5 cars under a blanket that all could have made the passes for the win. And in the end, it was Rouse that got by Wood first and just took off. And Brad Rouse wins his first ever modified feature win.
Yep, that's definitely awesome for Rose for picking up that his first career 358 win. So that's definitely a big deal. He'd probably say he was struggling just a tad a bit at the beginning of the year, so definitely awesome to see him pick up that speed. And like you say, Wood showing speed as well. He did pick up a win last year at Humberstone, but like you say, the last year and a half, he's been yeah, extra fast as well. And Woody's I think his rookie year zero was born 1987 in the mods, so he's been around a long time, local Thorold boy. So everyone at the track usually likes seeing him do good, but. Yeah, I'm still watching the race right now. There's 18 to go. I hadn't quite finished that one yet. I'd skipped through it a little bit, but yeah, Woods out front right now. But you can see Rouse just slowly closing in on him right now, and able to get by him and pick up the win for his first career 358 win.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be the first of many. I feel like this is one of those wins that might blow the doors open, and I could see Rouse being a contender. Like just taking a look at how he's done this year in 10 events in the mods, he's got, or excuse me, this is I was gonna say that's the whole thing. But at Merrittville, so he's got. Let's see if I can get his Merrittville stats right here. So he's showing 2 wins on my race pass, and I'm like, well, he doesn't have 2 wins this year. I would feel like I would have remembered that, but maybe it's
Probably
a.
counting his sportsman's because he does have a sportsman win there.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. It's counting the sportsman as well. So my statistics are a little blurred,
Yeah,
all things considered. But uh, yeah, he's been steady Eddie so far in the modifieds. Like the lowest finish I'm seeing, besides the very first event of this year, he had a DNF, but finished 11th back in May 28th. Beyond that, he's been inside the top 10. So it's been a consistent start for the year to Brad for Brad in those modifieds. So. I think this could be pretty. I don't want to say that it could be a breakout season for him in a modified, especially as a rookie, but I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I've seen Brad do enough great things in a sportsman, and I think he can pick it up in a modified too. You know.
yeah, I totally agree. Definitely showed his stuff Saturday night, and he's definitely adapting. Now that he's parked the sportsman, it's a lot easier just to zone in on the 358 and just focus on that driving style at all, which is a little bit more featherfoot, like egg under the gas pedal. And yeah, he definitely dialed her in Saturday. And I think it's officially, you can call it a breakout season if he wins one in his rookie year. That's officially a breakout season, I think.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Okay. We'll call it a breakout year already for him. Looking ahead to the Super Deer Car Series.
Yeah, W's. That's all anyone cares
Yeah,
about.
exactly. Right. Nobody remembers anything but the wins, right? So if you put
Yep.
a checker flag on the board, that's always a good one. Just looking ahead at the Super Dirt Car Series schedule, we've got a big night Friday night, June 24th, for those listening. Albany, Saratoga Speedway in Malta, New York, Super Dirt Car Series showdown. I think you were saying that Friesen's not going to be running this one because he'll be busy with the truck, right?
Yeah, he'll be at Nashville with his truck. So that technically means Matt Williamson will be leading the points going into it. But I believe Shepard's right there as well. So definitely up in the air. Still there to see who can be the point leader, but
Yep.
it's still early.
Shepard and
And who's the other one? Larry White? No.
yep,
McLaughlin?
it's Max McLaughlin too.
That's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, McLaughlin's up in third. So technically, as they're scored right now, it's Friesen by 4 points over Williamson. Then McLaughlin's 22 back of Friesen, and Shepard is 41 back. So we'll see what our boy Matt can pull off here. Williamson hasn't gotten to victory lane yet, but 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. Pretty solid start for St. Catharines, Ontario. I guess we should be saying Ridgeway, Ontario now.
Yeah,
Native Matt Williamson.
yeah. Matt's got a 358 series win there. I know
And he had a
that.
good,
And yeah, what are you saying?
yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, we were speaking of Matt. We were talking, or you were talking to him today, because there was
Hmm.
a bit of a bit of controversy, a little drama in the uh, modified world, the dirt car world. So, uh, why don't you explain this? Because I am far from the technical person to be
Oh
explaining
boy.
anything in terms of a part on a race car. But yeah, you were talking to Matt about Dirt's decision to, uh, is it this ban a new part that's popping up on some race cars?
Yep. Single-sided torque arm. So basically, the normal style, there's two aluminum torque arms that come off the rear end and up into a little biscuit and slider that slides up under the rear end, and that's how you hold the rear end in place going forward, and then radius rods as well. And then DKM, they've made a new single-sided torque arm, and then that's why I called Matt just to see what he says, like what it does. And what he says is because there's the normal ones are two-sided, that they're more like kind of fixed under there, they can't really float around. But this single one allows it so your pickup point is always the same no matter what. Because now the cars get so jacked up, is like to the almost like a late model with the left rear up in the
Mm-hmm.
air, that it creates a bind a little bit under there. So now these guys have created a way to get rid of that bind, and like your pickup point is always the same. It's like always in the same spot. And Matt said that he doesn't really think that it creates a lot more bite per se. Like it doesn't really speed you up all that much. The only thing that it really does is really allows you to control the car when you're not on the gas. Because a 358 or a big block before that, or a small block mod, anything like that, like when you get right off the gas, it has a tendency to lay down and unload the car and all that stuff. So this single-sided torque arm basically allows it to, yeah, just not unload the car when you get off the gas, or definitely a lot less drastic of a motion. So Dirk Carr decided to ban it today, and that got everybody all up in a stink. But Matt made a good point that because now the cars are on a short rod, coil over, left side panhard bar, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, that wrecked the racing. They should have made that illegal." Like, and then now these same people are mad about this new thing. So that's kind of weird because, like Matt says, it's going to just make the cars a little bit easier to drive, and then the racing might not be quite as good now. Just like the people are saying that the short rods and the coils make the racing a little. I think those people. I've seen tons of good races with short rods and coils. That's the whole thing about racing. Like fans like don't remember stuff. Like there could have been a good race 4 weeks ago, but if the last one was a stinker, that's all they're going to talk about. You know what I mean? But yeah, it does suck that kind of like ingenuity and all that kind of stuff like just gets banned right away. But everyone got mad at Dirt Car for not banning the coils and short rod, and then so they got mad at them for not doing it, and then now they do it on this part to try to get ahead of maybe an event or whatever, money spending, blah blah blah, and then they get all mad that way too. So Dirt Car's kind of whatever, dude. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And but there's still the short track super series over there, and that's a different rule. So if you want to run your four links that they banned a couple years ago and your single-sided torque arms and build a car like that, you can still go run that series. So yeah, that's pretty much how it is. That's different in the states. Like up here, there's only 60 mods to go around, but in the states, you can get 60 mods in one
Yeah.
race. So that's why it's a bigger deal down there, and that's why they kind of got. That's why Dirt Car did it, just because there's a ton of cars down there.
Yeah, fair enough. So just to me, basically, it sounds like
Basically it.
from a layman standpoint, it's just something that's providing stability to you guys and making the mods easier to drive, right? So, um, I'm always in the camp of let's make these cars as hard to drive as possible, make it as most challenging, really separates the best of the best, right? But I think there's also something to be said for, like you say, ingenuity and rewarding uh, guys and girls who come up with new parts
Yeah,
and new designs and new things to make cars better across all racing series. So it's a bummer, and like you say, it's a real tough, sticky situation for from Super Dirt. I would love to hear. what people think of it. I mean, out there, if you want to let us know via Twitter or Facebook, we're at Super Dirt or at Southern Ontario Dirt Show on Facebook, at SODS_pod on Twitter, or send us an email, Southern Ontario Dirt Show at gmail.com. Let us know what you think of these new rules. What do you think of this call by Dirt, and what's your thoughts on the state of modifieds right now, and what has been going on? Because I feel like we were under controversy to start with the sale panels, which I mean locally was a real big deal, and
That's more local
yeah,
though. This
exactly,
one's more of a national thing.
exactly, right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had the local folks riled up, and now we got people across the entire Northeast kind of
Yeah.
fired up to
National across the
across the
board.
board fired up. So
Yep.
I'd love to hear what people say. So send us your feedback. What do you think of this rule? And yeah, I won't be the judge until I can see it in action. Really, I guess so. Maybe I'll have to watch some of those short track events.
The one other thing I want to just put in on this, like on new trick parts, like back in the day, if let's say Ralph Earnhardt or someone way back in the day, or like Jumpin' Jack Johnson or anybody had a fancy part that was going to be way better than everybody else, they wouldn't tell everybody. Like they would hide it. Like, and if someone
Mm-hmm.
was knew about it and started blabbing, like those people should fear for their lives. Like seriously, like. But now DKM made this part, so they're trying to sell it, so it gets out way quicker now. That's another thing. So then, right? Because back in the days, what happened? People would just hide it, and then eventually it would come out, but it
Yep.
wouldn't be so quick. That's the main. That's another thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a big difference, right? When you've got businesses trying to make money off of ingenuity as well, right? It changes the game a little bit more, adds one more wrinkle to things. So we'll see what I'm sure this isn't the end of this controversy. I think there's going to be more that comes out on it, and I'd love to hear from the dirt racing community what they think of it, if they've got any opinion on it. And on that note, I think it's time to start talking to some sprint car drivers. So we'll catch up with Cory Turner and Mikey Kruchka in just a little bit.
Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Want to support the Southern Ontario Dirt Show and help us expand our coverage across the province and Western New York? Well, your ad could be playing right here. Got a brand or business that deserves more attention? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com, to become a sponsor of the podcast. And now, let's get back to the show.
All right, and we're back on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Jonathon and Travis Cunningham, joined by recent winner at Ohsweken, Cory Turner, the second Turner to join the show. Welcome, Cory.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's my pleasure.
So pretty successful weekend at Ohsweken last Friday night. Talk to us about the drive. Talk to us about getting the win and coming out on top there.
Yeah, that's an Ohsweken Speedway that we don't usually see until the Nationals, you know. Really, really slick top to bottom, absolutely no top in the feature at the top edge. Kind I kind of made the middle work, just tried to keep my momentum, not break the car loose, and just be real careful in lap traffic, not to get into anybody. And you know, we got a little lucky. We drew the pole, but we had a good car at the same time.
Yeah, Cory, you're a new dad, and I think that was the first time you had him at the track. Am I wrong? Or but you picked up the win on the first Father's Day weekend you ever had. That's got to be pretty cool, don't you think?
Yeah, you know what? It was pretty special to get a picture with Dana and I's son Kellen. He's been to actually every race this year, other than when we traveled to Fulton. But yeah, that's the first time he's been able to get his picture taken. So hopefully we can get a few more like that in the future. Because I know, looking back at like my brother and I in Victory Lane with my dad, didn't win a modified race till I was 6 and my brother was 3, so we don't really have any real young pictures of us with him in Victory Lane.
That's cool.
Pretty special moment. I want to take you back to something you just said, talking about that's the Ohsweken Speedway. We don't really see until the Nationals come around with three different variations of the Nationals this year. Does that give you a little extra confidence to be able to win on a track like that heading into, well, we'll get the first one coming up in just over a week?
Yeah, you know what? You never know. Like we've had nationals in the past that slick, if not slicker, and then we've had ones that you know, keep a little bit of moisture. I don't think the nationals this year will have the kind of car count that they've had in the past. You know, they were usually pushing 60 in previous years, and this year, I think we'll be closer to, you know, high 20s, low 30s. So I don't know if the track will slick out like that, but it's good to know that, we've got a pretty good program and we're ready for it. And your co-host is pretty good in the slick too. He handed me my ass there in the heat race the other night, so I think he'll be pretty good too.
Yeah, if I can stop hitting the inside wall in the feature, heat races don't pay anything. But I want to just talk about. I think you'd say I wouldn't say struggle, like you had some good runs on the short tracks, but you just weren't quite as good as your brother, as he's been, because he's been picking up the wins and stuff. Got one at Brighton and Merrittville, and he had one last year. Just talk about how big of a deal it is just to get one on the board, just for family rights there.
Yeah, it's always, you always want to get one early in the year. We've had a lot of luck on that weekend. Like in 2018, we won on that weekend out of Ohsweken, 2019, and then, obviously, we didn't run there in 20 or 21, and then got one last weekend. So we've had pretty good luck on that weekend. But yeah, anytime you can get a win, kind of, you know the weight's kind of lifted. Yeah, my brother, he's been really good on the short tracks. He won at Brighton there a couple weeks ago. We were seventh. We weren't overly good. And then he beat me at Merrittville there 3 weeks ago, and we're looking forward to go back there this Saturday for the Gary Cunningham Memorial.
Yeah, that was technically like almost a slump breaker for you, right? That was your first win since 2019. I think nationals, triple 15s, right?
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We'd been on the podium about eight
a
or nine
zillion
times.
times. Yep,
Yeah, just that Jordan Poirier guy's pretty good, and
yep.
um, yeah, my brother beat us there at Merrittville, and we'd been good. We just hadn't put it all together.
So you mentioned Saturday we're gonna have the Gary Cunningham Memorial, and then that's gonna mark, I believe that's the second of. Are you gonna be a part of the what'd you say, Travis? 4 races and 8 nights for you guys coming up in the 360 sprints. You're gonna be a part of all four. You think, Corey?
Yeah, that's our plan as of now. We're gonna run this Friday at Ohsweken, Saturday at Merrittville, and then Thursday at Humberstone, and Friday back at Ohsweken, and then the following Friday again back at Ohsweken. But yeah, it's especially with the COVID shortened years, it's nice to get some racing in. It's gonna wear me out. It's gonna wear our guys out. But when you have a fast race car, you want to see as much racing as possible. So we're looking forward to it.
So what's your biggest concern when you've got that many races in such a short amount of time?
This year, just getting fresh tires is a concern. Um, Trying not to ball anything up. You don't really have time to rebuild a car per se. We have a couple cars that are shot, but they're not totally ready to go. They take a few hours to get ready. But yeah, you wanna not try to have any trouble, the first night, because it makes for a late night that night or an early morning the next day. So you try to do your best to avoid any potential problems. But it's racing. You never know what's going to happen.
All right, Corey, I want to talk numbers a little bit. Ryan was able to keep his 91, but Jay made you run the 13. So what's the deal behind him and the 13, and why does he make you run that number?
Yeah, 19 was always my own number when
Yeah,
I raced street stock, and then my first couple of years when I owned my own stuff in a sprint car. And that's half my dad's number and half both my grandfather's number. My mom's dad actually raced, I don't know, a couple times, and he was number 99. So his claim to fame is he got spun out leading the B main at the All Canadian at Humberstone back in the early 60s sometimes. So um, yeah, that was pretty much it for his racing career. Um, but yeah, so when I decided to come over and join the Burger Barn team, we 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 hadn't really talked numbers for a couple nights, and then Jay said, you know, I got a number for you, and I said, oh yeah, what's that? He's like 13. That's my lucky number. So you know, you don't really fight with the boss man, so you run it.
yep, and definitely not bad luck because you won on Friday.
Yeah, no, it's and even when we won the triple 15s at one of the triple 15s at Ohsweken, it's actually Friday the 13th.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so it is his
Yeah,
lucky number. He ain't kidding.
Oof.
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
I like that. I like that.
So well, yeah, I I would not be doing the same thing. I would have way too much superstition. I think that's part. I think that's part of the reason my driving career never worked out. Is I had just too many superstitions. I was playing too many head games by the time I sat in a go kart and got out there. Uh, what talk to us, Corey, about the family racing and the pride you guys have because all three of you, both your dad, Jamie, and of course Ryan, you guys are always threats to not only podium but even win in a sprint car. Does it make you feel good to be a part of such a strong family, or are you always a little bit jealous if you're not the one that comes out on top?
No, it's good. I want, last year we had a race at Humberstone where we were 2, 3, and 4, which was pretty cool. Our dream is to sweep the podium one night, but that's pretty tough to do these days. There's a lot of good competition at the local tracks, but yeah, it's racing. It comes in waves. My brother's been giving me a pretty good ass beating here, early in the year, but tracks change, things change, and yeah, it's kind of like F1, in Formula One at the Burger Bar team is if he's winning and I'm running second, it's all good. But if he's winning and I'm running 15th, yeah, that's probably not good. So
Well, you were talking about we were both talking about before the interview started. We were catching up. I was talking about Ryan kind of got the bug from you, Corey. So he's kicking your ass this year. Do you ever kind of regret? Do you have any regrets about giving your little brother the racing bug by starting your career at? I think you said it was the street stock. I think Ryan said that got him going in. And once you got your first street stock, that's when you really wanted to start racing too.
yeah, I got my first street stock after I graduated from university. My dad always told us he was gonna buy us as many cars as his dad bought him, and that was he didn't buy many. So once I got done school, I saved up some money over one summer, and we bought a car. It sounds cheap now. We paid $6,300 for it, turnkey, spares, the whole deal, um, from Jeremy Bean, and it was a good car. And my dad put hours and hours and hours, along with Burt Woolley and Jeff Beamer, and anybody else that would help. The street stocks are just a absolute ton of work. There's not everything's fabricated. There's no bolt-ons. Um, I can remember one story. It was Saturday night, and I used to like to party back in my early 20s, and we were out in the shop, and we took my dad like 3 hours to fix the throttle linkage, and he was pissed. And I, I'm not a good fabricator, and I'm still not real handy with a wrench, but he yeah, the day we sold our street stocks was a happy day for him in our shop. I'll tell you that. He wanted no more part of them after we did 3 nights one year. And yeah, so I don't know, maybe if I didn't buy a street stock back and start racing back in 2011, maybe my brother wouldn't have got the bug. It definitely worked out for him. I got asked to drive Mike Granton's car, so then I ended up selling my car from the previous year to him, and then yeah, and then we ended up buying Mike out, and then running out of my dad's shop, each of us, as much as we could the next 2 years.
All right. So like that was where I was going with my question that I forgot. But so like Ryan like admits like he wasn't really into it until you got your car. But would you say you were probably more thinking about being a driver at some point, or like definitely were looking that direction?
Oh yeah, even when I was young, I always wanted to race. My parents would never get me a go-kart, said it was unsafe. Um, so then yeah, my first real shot was in a street stock. So, not really a conventional way to start, but it was fun nonetheless.
One of my real memories with you is remember our trip back to Frozen Ocean in the go-karts back in the day?
Oh
We
yeah.
went
Oh
with
yeah.
Flagrants. Okay, yeah. Like, so your dad, I can remember this like it was yesterday. Like, he got in a big, it was the Monday show at Merrittville, and he got in a big wreck. So they had to go to Troyer's and clip the car. So I think that's why you decided to come with us, right? Because they weren't supposed to race on the Saturday or whatever. And then when we
Yeah.
get back from the trip, like he ended up racing, they got it fixed, and then you got gypped. You didn't get to see it, but we ended up going to Canandaigua and some go-kart races, and that was a lot of fun. But you remember that?
Y- Yeah, I went to Canandaigua twice that week. They had a Super Dirt Car Series show on like the Tuesday when we dropped the car off at Troyer's. We stayed for the race, and then yeah, I didn't think he was running that Saturday. Him and Bert brought the car home like Friday night at like 5, and had it race ready by the next night. Only missed hot laps and ended up running second. So they were it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was cool.
And I remember, I still remember that race. You ran fourth, and there was like pit stops and the kart race, and a guy got on fire. It was wild, yeah.
Yep, that was my first actual dirt go-kart race, and it was 125 lapper. Still the only race I've ever had to race that had a pit stop, like you said. Yeah, and I was Blake Creasley. I was Blake Creasley, local guy that caught fire. So yeah,
Oh,
he's from
okay.
in Southern Ontario. I can still remember him rolling around on the track.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I can imagine. Can't imagine 125 laps in a go-kart. Jeez. Well, thanks for taking the time tonight, Cory. I know you're a new dad, so I'm sure if the kid's not asleep already, you got to enjoy some time with him, or maybe just take your time and enjoy some peace and quiet for yourself. So appreciate you coming on the show. Good luck in the next week or so with all the racing you got going on, and try to take it easy on our boy Travis, eh?
Okay. No, he's pretty good in the slick, so we're gonna have some dry tracks here coming up. So you watch for him on the podium here shortly.
Thanks, Cory. Thanks for coming on, man.
Awesome. Hey, that's what I like to hear.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Want to support the Southern Ontario Dirt Show and help us expand our coverage across the province and Western New York? Well, your ad could be playing right here. Got a brand or business that deserves more attention? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com, to become a sponsor of the podcast. And now, let's get back to the show.
It's Jonathon and Travis catching up with Mike Kruchka. How's it going, my friend? Welcome to the Southern Ontario Dirt Show.
Things are good, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Coming off a strong run at Ohsweken, tell us about how your season's been going so far in the sprint.
Up until last Friday, it was a struggle. I was racing down on the Empire Super Sprints Tour with the Mike Stelter car, and we just couldn't find our rhythm and couldn't really get anything put together. We were struggling real bad, and we ran practice out of Ohsweken in my car. I came home and it was awesome, and then I went back down there and struggled a couple more weekends, and then I was kind of pulled the chute on that deal. And just decided to run myself strictly. And then the first race out of the box last Friday, we were really good all night. And it was just one of those nights it's kind of why you go racing. You just hope for a car like that underneath you and a good night of racing. And we had that, and it was good timing. It just felt good, and it was really good to be going good. So far it's been terrible, but last Friday was pretty awesome.
All right, Mike. You're really good in the super slick. Just talk about like what it takes to be good in the slick, like as a driver, just keeping it straight and all that. You're like extra good at that.
It's just patience. It's so easy to like maybe hear a guy behind you or see a guy beside you and want to push that pedal down, and you just spin those tires. You just kind of have to, one thing, you have to get the car working pretty good. You know what I mean? You got to get into the racetrack, and it's got to be trying to dig in there. But it's just patience, man. You really got to find that, just the edge where your tires are about to spin, but they're not. And you kind of just live in that wheelhouse, you know what I mean? And try not to get excited and blow the tires off it. And then, as you said, just keeping it really straight is really important. You want to drive the car in straight, not shake it loose, just kind of let it slip in there on its own, and then just slowly, like an eggshell under your pedal, and just kind of go and just not blow the tires off it. It's tricky, but it's just a lot of patience.
So that patience, was that something that you had to learn over time, or was that something you felt like came to you pretty naturally?
No, it definitely didn't come naturally. I just hate losing a lot, so it's just something you have to beat into yourself to get better at, because it's tough, but it's I love it because once it slicks off, a lot of guys struggle at it. So as soon as it gets really slick, it kind of takes like 75% of the guys right out of the equation. So there's going to be a handful of guys you're fighting with. And plus, if you're a little better on the slick and you get rolling well, your closing rate, and you kind of catch guys, and you can dictate your race better. You're not spending a lot of time beside people. especially lap cars, you can just kind of get in and get around and get by. And yeah, it's just it was not natural, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. You said you were running the Stelter car and you weren't definitely wasn't going the way you had hoped. Just talk about how that can affect your psyche as a driver, and then how much like a good run you had Friday at your home track, coming right out of the box with your own car, how that makes you feel.
That's a good point. It's really tough. Like I always attest racing sprint cars. My favorite analogy is it's like when you were in grade school and you're trying to skip double dutch. You know what I mean? They've got both those ropes going. In sprint cars, you're like, all right, I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in. You jump in, and you get smacked in the face, and it's like, man, that hurt. And then the next time, I really don't want to jump into this again. You know what I mean? And then you get hit in the face again or whacks you in the leg. It like when it does that 6 or 8 times, you're like, oh, I can't do this. You know what I mean? Is it me? Is it? And then that one time, like say coming home Friday, where you just jump in perfect and you're just like, rah, you're like Olympic skipper. You know what I mean? You have an awesome night, and it just takes you right back to being like it erases everything that happened this year, and it's just like, okay, we're here. I can still do this. We're good. Let's rock. Let's run the ropes and hit other people in the face now. You know. So.
Yep.
Fair enough. So you're going to be. Are you planning on running all 4 events coming up in the 360s? Between we got the Gary Cunningham Memorial at Merrittville, we got 2 nights, 2 Friday night regular shows at Ohsweken, and then of course the Knights of Thunder get back in action on Thursday. So is your plan to be in all 4 events locally?
Uh, No. So I'm gonna race Ohsweken on Friday, and then I'm not gonna run. It sucks because it's Gary's race, and Gary was so good to me. He was like the first guy ever that tell me like, yes, you can do this, you know. And he was really a big motivator of mine, and so I'm bummed to not be running his race. But so I'm not gonna run with the SOS on Saturday. I don't have a tire. I just kind of want to save my equipment for the races leading right up to the nationals, and then. We'll probably do the Knights of Thunder. I don't know if we have a good run on tomorrow Friday night again. The following Thursday, I believe is the Knights of Thunder at Humberstone. We might do that one, but I don't know. It's one of those things. If we're dynamite again at Ohsweken, I might just pass on Humberstone and step right back into Ohsweken because it's a heavy paying race there. You know what I mean? And I don't know. You know what I mean? It's hard to say. I don't really have a large budget. I don't really have any spares. I got a couple spare tires and stuff, but if I tear anything up whatsoever, it puts me in a bad position to be ready for the national race. And so it's kind of hit and miss. So to answer long answer, short answer, yes to Friday, question mark for the rest of the season. If we make it through the next race, we'll worry about the one after that pretty much.
Fair enough. That sounds like dirt racing right now in the world in 2022. So totally understandable.
Yeah, that and tires and just everything, it's tough. Like if I have motor trouble or anything, it's just like, all right, let's go to the beach. You know what I mean? That'll be pretty
Yep.
it for the year. So we'll just keep rocking. I always just bring my A game to the racetrack. It always looks nice and runs good. And if that A game fails me, then there is no plan B or C. We just put it back in the box and head home and try and figure out where we would go from there.
All right, Mike, I'd say this is easily the most prepared you've ever been in your career, like with the car. Like you've got it really dialed in, and it showed when you were super fast out of in practice there. I knew you were going to be quick on opening night after practice. But just talk about how much being prepared is such a big deal, and I think that's why the O run was so quick right out of the box.
Yeah, definitely. So this Triple X chassis, it seemed to be very similar to the one that I had a handful of years ago when I was racing there. So it was a little bit easier to prepare this because I just kind of opened my old notes and setup sheet and just you got to just pay attention to the details. You know what I mean? Make sure you get your stuff right where it needs to be, and as far as being prepared, making sure everything's put together properly, everything's squared and measured properly. Um, Tires are a big deal, so you gotta for the few tires we do have, you make sure you take your time and you prep them correctly, and just making sure you have everything where you need it to be. So when you roll out on that push off track, you're not sitting there going, "Oh, was that tight or is that like that?" When you roll out on that track, you need to know you're mentally prepared, and you can just focus on driving, and then you get then it that kind of that helps you or that helps me a lot anyway because I'm kind of like bit of OCD, a worry wart, a little bit about all kinds of stuff. So you just have to do absolutely everything, be 100% prepared. And thankfully, this frame is really good. It worked really well for me, and we gelled right away. So that was a big part of it too.
So we were just talking with Cory Turner. We were talking about the track last Friday at Ohsweken being a little bit of a slicker track and something that's similar to the Nationals. Do you find that uh, a slicker track promotes a better challenge for you guys, or would you prefer more of a tackier track at a big paying event like the Sprint Car Nationals?
Definitely. Obviously, it's slick because I tend to run a little bit better, and as I said before, it kind of takes a lot of the guys out of the equation. It's pretty comfy for a lot of drivers of all different experience levels. When you have a tacky track, you can just kind of put down the pedal and steer. Because sprint cars, they really want to turn and they want to operate. So if it's tacky, you can just hammer down and you can be pretty good, especially if you got a good budget and a good motor. You know what I mean? You can be fast, but when it slicks up right off, it kind of takes a lot of the motor out of the equation. You know what I mean? It's got to run good still, but you don't have to have a $60,000 American motor. You know what I mean? You can get by. So I think when it's slick for the large shows, it definitely makes for better racing. I think for the fans, you kind of see, as long as you have a handful of guys that are on it and they're up front, it's good. You don't have like one guy checking out, but when it's slick, it kind of does promote better racing. And I find when it's really slick too, sometimes in the longer races, you'll find one guy just his car starts to come together. I kind of go back to like Brian Howland a few years ago when you're watching hit that race. Everybody's
Yep.
focused on the leaders, and after one of the early red flags or cautions, you could see his car. I don't know what he did to it. He changed wing angle or something or position, but his car came right alive, and it was just he just started he's like a half second or second faster lap than everybody else on the slick stuff, and he just started marching through the field and ended up winning. So I think when it's slick, it definitely promotes events like that, and and I think you know what I mean. You got to earn it when it's slick too. It goes back to being patient. It's a lot easier to make mistakes. It's a lot easier to slip up or you know what I mean to not make the right decision in traffic. You lose a lot of momentum, and that is a big deal when it's slick. You know what I mean. You can really cost yourself a lot of time that is almost impossible to gain back up. So most definitely, a slick track on the bigger shows is beneficial to for us guys and for the fans.
All right, Mike. A couple years ago, a lot of people don't maybe remember this, but you did go on the road as a crew guy for the World of Outlaws for like half a year or so. So why don't you tell us what that kind of life was like, and would it be beneficial for a kid if he didn't have anything going on for half a year to go out and do that and learn?
Oh, definitely. I found that's exactly what I did. I wanted to get into the sprints, and I had a frame and I had my seat, but I just had no. I didn't really have like the knowledge and the confidence. Like, yeah, I hung out and I was hanging, crewing on Glenn Steyer's car, and I mean, you learn some stuff locally, but you're still kind of lost. But for the summer we did go, we crewed for Jeremy Campbell. It was awesome, and it was just neat to kind of to embark on an adventure like that because you just get in the toter home and you just leave. You know what I mean? You're like, all right, we're 3 months on the road. This is our home. Walmart parking lots, and you just it kind of I don't know. It forces you to just survive, for
Hmm.
one part. But secondly, being on the road and just going from race to race to race, you immerse yourself in that, and you're just kind of you get one with the team, and you learn all the cars ins and outs because we're doing everything ourselves right there. You know what I mean? We're servicing the cars after every race, and by the time I got home, when I did get home, I had a heck of a lot of confidence to the point where I could go out and say, yes, I'm doing this with affliction. You know what I mean? And say like I'm going to make this happen. I need this. Help me get this, and then I'll get this. I was just way more confident and knowledgeable. I knew how to plumb a 360 sprint car, a fuel system, and how to, I mean, service the valves and set up the car and measure. And I knew how to put together a sprint car now and shove it off with confidence and get in and go drive it. And to be able to focus on just driving and learning how to drive. So that was an amazing experience for me. And the only reason I'm not doing it is because guys like Gary Cunningham told me I could drive, and I was wasting my time on the road crewing for somebody else. So
Mm-hmm.
And I really had the desire to drive myself. Like I'd rather drive and be mediocre at home and have fun than I would be to go on the road and kind of ride people's coattails and be a big shot down there. So I just decided to come home and get to work and go racing. So I'm really fortunate that I had that chance.
Awesome. Well, we'll get you out of here on this question, Mike. If you could drive one type of car on any track in the world, pick one car, one track for the rest of your life. Where you want to run and what do you want to run?
This is a trick question. That's sprint cars Ohsweken, man. We're
Oh,
these guys on
Nope.
Earth. It's awesome. It's but if I had to, since I'm already doing that,
Yeah,
since
give
I'm
us a
already doing that,
hypothetical answer.
hypothetically, I'd probably say,
Yeah.
oh man, probably stadium trucks on the on like one of those road circuits, following around like the Indies, like the Robbie Gordon guys and stuff. Or you just beat the hell out
Yeah,
of
the Robbie
stuff
Gordon
and get
trucks.
upside down and get out and win, lose, or draw. You're just like, yes, this is great. So probably something like that, or maybe monster trucks. But
awesome.
tear up at
That's awesome.
because the whole time, my whole life, I just been trying not to tear up sprint cars. You know what I mean? I just want something that I could go rip the wheels off every night and just love it. Exactly. That's
Yeah,
what I
wreck it
mean,
on
right?
purpose.
So
Yeah.
that's
I
that
could see.
probably the
Yep.
dream.
I can see you running a trophy truck down Lakeshore around the exhibition grounds for the Toronto Indy. That could be a lot of fun. I think that's back to back that we asked this question. I can't remember who it was last week, but we keep getting unique answers on this, so that's awesome. I appreciate that answer, Mike.
Yeah, no, it's true, man. Like that, I definitely want to catch some air and get upside down for fun, as opposed to now where I'm trying not to catch air and get upside down. So
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time tonight. Good luck on Friday and whatever future races you find on your calendar going forward. And we'll catch up with you down the road. Thanks, Mike.
awesome, man. Thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate it, and thanks for doing this podcast. It's fun to listen to all our competitors and our heroes growing up and all that stuff. Getting to have something to listen to and listen to their thoughts on our fun little family and world of racing we have here in our area.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Mike, so much.
Cheers.
See ya.
And the checkered is out on another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe for future episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Have a question for the show? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com. Thanks for supporting local racing in Southern Ontario, and we'll see you at the track.